All right, welcome back. I hope you're enjoying yourself so far. Our next speaker is Priyanka Singhal. She is a data scientist, enterprise research, and AI at US Bank. Please join me in welcoming her to our virtual stage.
Thank you, Patrika. I'm glad to be here. So good afternoon, everyone. And I'm Priyanka. As Patrika already introduced me, I'm a data scientist currently working at US Bank. And today I will be talking about how you can deploy an AI or a machine learning model using Flask. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. Okay. So, as you all know, the first step towards any data science project is, of course, getting the data, building a model. But the stage at which you feel that the model is completed and the project is when the project is in action. And one of the ways in which you can deploy a simple machine learning and AI model is by using Flask. And the reason I picked Flask is that it enables you to create web applications very easily. So, a very brief intro on Flask is that it's a micro web framework. It is written in Python, and you can use it to create RESTful APIs. It has four main components. I'm going to talk about the two main, which is the web server gateway interface, where it uses Verzik. And what exactly is a web service gateway interface is that it's used to forward requests from a web server such as Apache, Nix, Tomcat to a backend Python web application or framework. So it's a standardized interface between web servers and Python web frameworks and applications. And the goal is to provide a relatively simple and a comprehensive interface which is capable of supporting all or almost all interactions between a web server and a web framework. The templating language that Flask uses is Jinja 2, and it's used to create HTML through HTML requests. Uh, like two of the applications which are very famous Flask applications are Pinterest and LinkedIn. So that might get you excited what all you can do with Flask. But we are going to start very simple on how you can deploy a very simple model using Flask. Now, one of the reasons why Flask is preferred is that it doesn't depend on a whole lot of libraries. It's very simple to learn. It's fast. You can scale it up. You can build a couple of complex applications with it. Like I said, Pinterest and LinkedIn, they use Flask framework, but it's not a full stack. So there are limitations when it comes to scaling. And another limitation is that it doesn't have any admin site or any login that you can do to uh, security purposes. Okay, so now we are using Flask to build APIs. And what is exactly an API? So API is a software intermediary that allows two applications to interact with each other. So if you look here, you have your database and you have your front end, and REST API is something which will help the two communicate with each other. One of the most common examples that we come across is probably your login page that you have for GitHub, or when you are making a payment or any e-commerce site, you will see something like this that I have here, which is what would you like to pay using PayPal or Visa, Amex, Discover, US Bank. So and you will see something like API gateway, payment gateway. So all that is what APIs allow you to do. Now, what specifically is REST API? So you can build APIs using different ways. REST API is a set of rules and guidelines that are standard, which we can use to build an API. It helps REST API help in building an API much faster. And you can use HTTP requests like get, post, put, and delete. So therefore, there's no protocol conventions that are required for client and servers to communicate with each other when it comes to REST APIs. With these four functions, you can pretty much do most of the, I mean, it's sufficient in most cases. So that's about APIs. And next, we will talk about what is the flow chart. So the first thing is, of course, you get your data, you build your model, whether it's simple linear model, it's an object detection model, it's an NLP model, whatever model you build, depending on the data you have, and then you save it as a pickle file. It could be a .pkl file, it could be a .pt file, it could be a .pth file, though mm, I would recommend that you should preferably save it as a .pt file, because .pth kind of confuses with the path. So it's better to use .pkl or .pt. And what is pickling is exactly it's just a standard way where we serialize the objects in Python, and you can load this file to deserialize your model and use it again to make predictions. So what it does is it converts a Python object into a byte stream, and that allows you to move the model across different architectures. Oh, and now once you have your model ready, we will use Flask to build the Flask web application. So there are two parts to it. One is where you build the API, and the second part is the template. And we'll talk about both of these in the subsequent slides. And once you have that web interface ready, you can share it with the end user, and the end user can then upload whatever data they have to, and you can get the prediction. Right. So I start with a very simple machine learning project. This is a data that I picked up from Kaggle. It has just four simple features, because I haven't picked up a complex data because the idea is to focus more on Flask and less on the complexity of the data. So I've kind of trimmed it down to just four features, and the link is in the references. You can look up the same data if you want to. And I just limited it to four features. So what this data is about is, are your employees burning out? Which is, uh, a pretty concerning and a very true problem that companies are facing right now with the COVID pandemic. So the four features I have here is month, gender, company type, work from home is available or not, and designation. And there is burnout prediction. I've removed gender, so then we have just four features, and the prediction is the burn rate. So there are a couple of files that you will need for your Flask implementation. The first is, of course, will be your model, which once you create on this data set, you will save it as a pickled file. The next is your template, which is your HTML file, and that will act as your front end. And then CSS is the styling. So you can think of it as the HTML file is like your framework of your house, and CSS is like a paint on the house. So it's more for beautification. And then app.py is going to be your Flask code where you'll create the API URL, and then request.py is you call the API. So let me move to the demo part of it. Right. So this is what our data looks like. We have month, company, work from home, designation, and burn rate. And we have gender here as well, which I take out later. So this is a very simple model that I created. You read the file in, you pick only four features: month, company, work from home, and designation. So month means the month in which you joined the company. So if you joined in September, the month is 9. Company means whether it's a product or a service-based company. Work from home available, again, is a binary field. Uh, yes or no, whether it's available. And designation is just, they have numbers there from 0 to 5, where 0 is that you have less responsibilities, and 5 is that you're high up the chain with more responsibilities and people to take care of. And then burn rate is the prediction. So just create a simple model here, convert the uh, categorical variables, and then I built a very simple linear regression model and I saved the model file as a pickle file. So once you have the pickle file, you can just save it at the same location. Another thing that you need to take care of when you are implementing Flask is that your files should be arranged like this. So you will have two folders. One is static, in which you will have a CSS file, which includes, how your HTML is, just beautification of the HTML. So what style you want to use. There are a couple of templates which are available online. You can, if you want to be very specific to something, you can code it on your own, but there are a lot of things that you can just pick off the internet and you don't have to code everything line by line. And the next is templates. Again, you have an HTML file here. So these are the two folders that you should create. And then these are your main files that you will have. So appy is where you will write the code for your building your API. This is your model pickle file, and this is where you'll request call the API. So once you have your files arranged in this way, like we just built our model and saved it as a pickle file, the next step is to write this code, which is app.py file, where you will actually build your API. Again, this is very straightforward. These are some of the libraries that you import from Flask. There is request, there is JSONify, which helps you handle JSON data, and render templates, which helps you call onto the templates that you want to display. Um, so here you just initiate your Flask application, you load your model, and here, this line, 9th and 10th row, this just explains that once you have the home page, what do you want your users to see? So this is what your home page looks like. And as you see here, we are rendering the template. We are calling this template out, which is index.html. And this is what it looks like. So for this particular example, our interface is going to be that, there are going to be 4 input variables. It's going to be month of joining, company type, work from home, and designation that you will input as data. And then we kind of predict for that particular person what is the probability that that person is the degree of burnout. And this value is between 0 and 1. So 0.2 means that you are less closer to a burnout than if you got a value of 0.9. So once we have all that, and then of course we have the style.css file. Like I said, there are a couple of things, couple of pre-written codes which are available on internet, and you can take those. So this is what goes into your static CSS folder. So once you have these two ready, this is what you are calling, and this is what will look like. This is what your home page is going to look like. And once those inputs are there, then you call the predict function. So what the predict function does is it requests for all the values that you filled out as part of the variables or the sections which are provided on the home page. It calls all those features and then uses those features, inputs them into the model, and predicts the burnout. And then it displays the burnout. So it says that in this same, because I'm using the same um, home page and printing out the result on the same home page, I can use this HTML. But if you want to have a different feel and look to your output, then you can use a different HTML styling as well. And then I just written the burnout rate is whatever number there is, and that is what will get displayed over here. This is just an example function that is being created to, if you have a lot of data and you want to not go one by one, but input all your data in JSON format, which you can do as a part of request file. You can add a JSON here and just add a library here, add a dictionary here of what are the values that you would put for each of those variables, and you can print out the JSON and then get the prediction file. So you can do it either ways. I'm explaining this particular way because that's what involves a better use of the web application. So once you do that, once this file is ready, now what you do is you open a prompt command. You can go to Anaconda prompt, or depending on whatever you are using for Python. And then you cd yourself into that particular folder, and then I'm just calling this particular Python file. Let's this okay, and then let's call this app.py file is the one you call. So you write Python because it's a Python file and you call that file. So it says serving a Flask application. And this is the URL we provided. So you just copy this. Let me pull this up here. Okay, I need to move my, okay. And then I can just paste this link here. So you see here, you have the month of joining, the company type, and all those 4 variables which went into our model. So maybe you can say that I joined the company. This, it's a service-based company. Your burn rate is 0.4. And then you can just put whatever values you want and get your prediction like this. Another way that you can do things is, say for instance, if you have a model which involves you that you load a picture, and whether it's object detection or image classification model, what you would require to do is you do the same thing. You load your model and you put it in evaluation mode. For an image, you can do things like what is the maximum size. You can put limitations on the maximum size that uh, of an image that can be uploaded, whether it should be a PNG or a JPG image, where will it get saved. So these are some of the things that you mentioned, some of the changes from the last code that we had. And then again, so over here, your HTML is changing. Now what you want your HTML to look like is an interface where a customer or whoever is the user can upload an image and get the prediction on that particular image. So you apply all these conditions that it should be a file, it should be a PNG or a JPG file which is within this size limit, and once someone uploads it, it gets saved to the location and you get the prediction. So I can show you the interface example for how you would do when you have an interface for uploading an image. So let's cd into 1 second. Okay, let's just showcase what the interface would look like. So yeah, once you have something around object detection or image classification, and you use an interface, you build your API like that. This is what your just give me one second. This is what it will look like. So you can just choose a file, upload your file, and you will get the image. So these are some of the ways in which you can, use Flask, whether it's for a simple machine learning model or for something as complex or a little more complex like object detection or image classification. And you can build simple or complex web application interfaces. So that's all I had. There are a couple of references. These are all codes which are available on either through GitHub or on Kaggle, and there are a couple of projects that you can look up online, which guide you on how you can go about building a Flask application. And I have those links and references in my presentation. So you can go through those, and of course you have the Flask documentation, which has a couple of codes to get started with Flask. All the best, and I hope this encourages you to deploy your first model with Flask if you haven't yet. Thank you.
Wow, Priyanka, thank you so much. This was incredible, and we really appreciate you taking time to share with us today. I know this virtual audience is giving you a huge virtual round of applause. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Yeah. For the audience, it's time for you to make your way to your next session. Along the way, make sure you accept your connection request and take some time to check out our amazing exhibits. Thanks so much, and we'll see you around.
Thank you. Have a good day. Bye-bye.